Hey guys, it's Tuesday and it's snowing again, and I'm honestly getting so friggin' sick of snow.
If I could look across the country, from California to New Jersey.
Okay, that was a picture from the Globe Theatre, which was one of where Shakespeare's plays, most of them were performed, and it was from the Elizabethan era, which is a period in time that I absolutely love because out of that time period came many Shakespeare plays, and Christopher Marlowe wrote plays, one of my favorites being Dr. Faustus. I would have loved to have lived during that time period to see some of Shakespeare's plays performed and to see Dr. Faustus, because that was really an interesting show. I mean, when you hear the term Faustian bargain, that's where it comes from. It comes from the fact that Dr. Faustus sold his soul to the devil for 24 years. And then all of Shakespeare's shows and his plays, they all came from the Elizabethan era. And I absolutely would have loved to live during that time period. And now another time period is this picture coming up, which is from Chicago, the movie. And that was from the 20s, which brought about prohibition and a lot of crime and things, but I just always thought it was an interesting time period, and another time period I would have loved to travel to had I had a time machine. Though the next one is my favorite, not because of the time period itself, but because of some of the legends of that time period. And that is the legend of King Arthur, which is something that I absolutely love. I've always loved reading the tales of King Arthur. I've read, the death of Arthur and all the tales of his knights and just so many stories of King Arthur, and I've always enjoyed King Arthur. And so that picture is of Camelot, and it's one of the tapestries. Many of them were made about King Arthur, and I really love that time period, and I would have loved to live during that time period, even though if I lived during it, I would have preferred to be a man, because I would have loved to be a knight rather than a maiden during that time period, because I think it would have just been a lot cooler to be a knight. And finally, that picture you just saw was Botticelli's Birth of Venus, which was during the Renaissance, and the Renaissance has to be my favorite time period. I mean, here's a time period that came after the Dark Ages where art and literature and just everything just grew and got so much better. It was the rebirth of it all after the Dark Ages, where none of it was allowed. I mean, during the Dark Ages, such a long period of time, people weren't allowed to do autopsies, and nobody knew human anatomy anymore. They forgot how to sculpt the human body. They forgot how to draw the human body. So many of the paintings that came directly after were these shapeless women, but Botticelli was one of the ones who started to really learn the curves and learn the human body, and his paintings are so amazing. Some of them even got burnt because there was this man who said that everybody was going to go to hell. I don't really remember his name, but everybody was going to go to hell because they were being too greedy. And so he had this big bonfire where people were burning artwork and so much stuff, and Botticelli burned a lot of his artwork in that. But that was one of his surviving pieces, and it's one of my favorite pieces of artwork. And it's just something really good that came out of the Renaissance. And the Renaissance was just such a good period. I mean, you had Botticelli, Da Vinci, just so many great artists that came from there and made such great pieces of artwork. And so that is probably the time period that I would love to travel to the most. I mean, I really want to go to Italy and see so much of this great artwork, because Italy was like the big area during the Renaissance. So that was, what I wanted to do. So I think that's about it. Amy, I'll see you tomorrow.